Hello, friends and family, if you even watch this, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever. We are back again with another amazing and very, in my opinion, underrated card coming up this weekend. We have another fight night. I believe the correct title for this fight night, it's UFC Fight Night 188, but it's classified as UFC in Vegas 22.
Bang, coming for the top, got the game in the lock. Every time that I drop, no, I gotta go bang. I'ma keep it hot, know that I can never stop. Keeping everything I got, I'ma make it go bang.
This shit's getting confusing, absolutely, but although, in my opinion, and I'll let Andrew talk in just 1 second, but although there is some no names in the rankings, for me, these are the fights to get most excited about because I want to see fighters that grow their stock and not just watch a fighter when the stock's already grown. I like to see the development. What about you, Andrew? First of all, what's going on?
Yeah, what's happening, man? We had a weekend of great fights. We had some ones that we didn't see going that way. I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for another card. Excited to be back again, and I like that we're making this a little bit more of a continuous thing throughout the week. And I'm loving that we have more fights coming up. But how you doing?
I'm pretty damn good, actually. I'm pretty stoked because this weekend we have the return of probably like my favorite middleweight right now. Kevin Holland. I'm so excited to see this dude back in action. This dude has been explosive and has had an amazing, probably one of the best years in MMA history, and I'll get to that in just a second when we talk about that. But literally probably the best year that anybody's had in MMA history, in my personal opinion.
Yep, I agree. So,
but let's start it off right away. We got a girl clash to the just average MMA fighter. They might not, MMA fans, sorry, they might not know this card. And to be honest, one of the fighters on here, Montserrat Ruiz, I wasn't really familiar with either. And that's because she's actually making her UFC debut this weekend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you go online and you look at the fight card. She doesn't even have a picture. You don't even know what she looks like yet. So a little bit of mysteriousness, and we're not sure what to expect just yet from her debut in the UFC. What do you think about this one going into it?
So, I mean, I've seen plenty of Cheyenne Boy's tape, and I've seen plenty of Cheyenne actually when she was doing amateur fights. So her record is only 5-1, but she has 15 amateur fights. So she, as far as I'm concerned, she's a vet. MMA fights, amateur or pro, most of the time, in her case, was still full contact, still very, very small gloves, not the same density that these are, but nonetheless, there was plenty of knockouts. She has a huge highlight reel of knockouts from her amateur fight days. So, I mean, she does have the experience, and I think this matchup is going to be very interesting, and to be honest, very one-sided, just because when you look at the tapes of Montserrat's not a stand-up fighter. She stands up and swings her arms, but you can tell by her movement, her hip placement, the way she torques her hips, the lack of, when she throws her techniques. She's not a very sound stand-up fighter, but what she is she does have a very extensive jiu-jitsu background. She's had plenty of jiu-jitsu tournaments under her belt. She's very, very familiar with the ground, being off of her back. So this could be interesting because, as opposed to Cheyenne, who's not very savvy on the ground, and then vice versa. Their strengths are in completely different parts of the MMA world.
So this is just the classic bout, our clash of the striker and grappler, you think?
Yeah, I think it's whoever can. For instance, Cheyenne, if she can just keep the distance, this is going to be a very, very one-sided fight. But if somehow Montserrat can get in and grab a hold of the leg and take it to the ground, it'll be very different because you're taking away all of Cheyenne's inventory if you take it to the ground.
Yeah.
So it could be very, very interesting. However, if you've seen Montserrat fight, I know she's a vet. I think she's like 8-1. She's done plenty of fights in Invicta and XFL, I think it's called. But she's a very, very slow starter. She doesn't have explosive power. She doesn't have explosive takedowns. So it's going to be I think it's going to be one of those things where she can only get the takedown if Cheyenne makes a very, very critical mistake where she lets her close enough to grab a hold of her. Other than that, I don't think she's going to be aggressive enough to get close to Cheyenne, and Cheyenne's just going to tee off on her. She's an amazing kickboxer, so I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what definitely happens in this one. I don't know how to call it. You never know who's grappling or who's striking is going to come through. But being as it may be the debut of Montserrat here, not really going to make a pick on this one, Jesse. I don't think I'll be betting on this one, but is Cheyenne definitely has more UFC tenure. So maybe we can see some of her striking display. And you said before we even started that she's explosive, right? And she's a bit of a killer.
I do think whoever the matchmaker is of this fight, it's one of those fights, and I'm not trying to downplay Montserrat and her abilities, but just based off of their style, their aggression, their technique, I believe this is a fight specifically to set up the growth of the stock of Cheyenne Buys, I think. Because I think she could be the next star in that division. I do think she's going to be something special, and you kind of need to showcase your skills a little bit. She did great on the Contender Series, and now she's here on like a main card of a pretty big fight night, in my opinion. So we're going to see how this plays out. But I definitely got Cheyenne Boyce, and I take her by no later than the second round. I think it's going to be a TKO.
Nice. Okay, moving on. We've got a welterweight bout. We've got Keenan versus Max Griffin. This one's an interesting one. Keenan's been in the UFC for a few years. I love his striking, trained down in Tiger Muay Thai for quite a while. Not many people know this, but he actually fought Israel Adesanya in a kickboxing match years and years and years ago. So he's fought the champ in the division. What do you think coming into this one, fighting a guy in Max Griffin?
Well, I think, first of all, they both love to stand up and trade. And I know Max Griffin's the type of fighter, he likes to implement a lot of volume, but I do think the technique of, how do you pronounce his name? I don't want to disrespect him. Song, right?
Yeah, Song.
I don't want to disrespect his name at all because I think he's an amazing fighter. I think his striking is way more precise. And you look at even his resume, right? He's fought Israel Adesanya. He has an extensive kickboxing and Muay Thai background. And you can see that when he delivers his strikes, their pinpoint accuracy. Where Max Griffin throwing in volume, his cardio is fantastic. But his strikes are not as linear and they're more telegraphed. They're more telegraphed than Song. Song, that's his game standing up.
He kind of has that traditional karate stance. Not stance, sorry. That karate, he throws his punches very straight, throws his kicks very straight. Trained in China for a long time. What do you think about the striking? Where do you think the fight plays out? Who gets the better hand in the striking department, and who gets the win here?
Well, if they're going to strike, then the better hand would be Song. But I do think Max Griffin has very, very underrated wrestling. We saw when he fought Zaleem, winning by unanimous decision. I think it was unanimous. It was by decision nonetheless. His wrestling is very underutilized. He can pick his takedowns, and he did so. I think he got like 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 takedowns. It was an amazing display of wrestling and timing with his takedowns, and that's what he needs to do here, especially against a very versatile kickboxer, is to time those leg kicks, because Song's going to throw those kicks. He loves it. He's got a very extensive karate and kickboxing background, right? So those kicks are going to be in his arsenal, and kicks are going to be what he wants to put on display in this fight. So I think Max Griffin needs to time those for those takedowns and get it to the ground ASAP, so you can eliminate all of Song's dangerous weapons, because Song's deficiency in his MMA game is in fact on the ground.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
But Max Griffin is a really big UFC vet too. So this is not going to be one of those things where they have UFC jitters. I actually think this could be a very, very fantastic fight. But again, the display of kickboxing that I think Song's going to put on display this weekend is just going to be something really good to watch, and I think is going to make his name be heard in the welterweight division.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about this all the time. You love those fights that they haven't reached the pinnacle, that they're not yet a fully finished product. You love to see them a little bit more raw, and that's where I think these two guys are at right now. Obviously, being outside of the official rankings. Hopefully we're going to get some fights out of these guys, or a fight out of these guys, like we saw last week on the last fight night. So, exciting fight to look forward to.
Absolutely. I do think I am going to pick Song for this one, but just because the durability of Max Griffin is for sure non-doubted, I think it's going to decision, but I think Song's going to win via unanimous decision.
Got it. Yeah, I think so too. I definitely think it's going to be a back and forth, a lot of defensive boxing, a lot of movement, a lot of in and out. Definitely Song might have the upper hand on this one. So we'll see how it goes.
He's too comfortable. He's too comfortable on his feet. Max Griffin, every time I watch this guy fight, although he's fun and he brings the entertainment every single time, I find he's too flat-footed and he doesn't utilize enough hips when he throws his techniques. He looks like he's trying to place them to get some points. And that's not going to work against a very versatile dynamic striker such as Song. So again, Song, if Max doesn't utilize his wrestling and tries to stand up, it'll be an easy fight.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yep.
Okay.
Who do we got next, bud?
Next fight, we've got Adrian Yanez versus Gustavo Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
This is
going to be a slugfest.
Adrian with that big knockout or the head kick KO in his last fight on the prelims. That was amazing to see. This kid's going to be a problem in the bantamweight division. I can really see a bright future for him. Striking is crisp. He's energetic. He's in your face. Gustavo Lopez, though, he's been in the UFC for a little bit, right? A few years now. Trained or spent some time in Bellator, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And outside of the UFC before actually signing that contract a couple years ago. Spent some time with Miesha Tate, Brian Caraway. Actually lived with them for a bit. So, if they have any information to give you, Miesha Tate, an ex-champion in the UFC, you have to kind of take what they have and apply it to your game as well. What are you looking to see out of this fight? Where do you think it's going to go? Who has the upper hand?
Well, first of all, I think it's going to be an absolute slugfest. They're both different style fighters as well. Yeah. Where we have Gustavo, when you watch him fight, I feel like he overutilizes his energy when sometimes it doesn't need to be used. He throws a lot of volume and half of those strikes miss. Yeah. Where I find on the other side, when you look at Yanez with the striking, he picks his timing a lot more. Even in his fight against Rodriguez with that head kick, he had that timed beautifully. It wasn't him throwing extensive volume and then landing that hit kick. He knew exactly when he was going to place it. He timed it completely. He has fantastic head movement. He's more clean, calm, and collective on the feet. Whereas Gustavo, even though he's an amazing fighter and he's definitely going to bring the heat, and he's good at both the stand-up and the ground game, I think the hole that he does have is sometimes he gets too overly excited and utilizes adrenaline in times that maybe you don't need to utilize it. And I think going against a pinpoint striker like Yanez, it could be very frustrating, especially if Yanez just tees off on him and doesn't overutilize his energy. It could prove to be I think it could be a decision fight as well.
Well, you know what? I think Gustavo knows that there's trouble on the feet. If this fight stays on the feet, Gustavo 6 submissions throughout his last few fights. I believe he's got a loss against a few guys via split decision. One was a knockout, but most of his wins are coming by way of submission, and I think that's what he has to utilize going into this fight, especially Adrian being a bit more of a technical striker too, right? He's going to pick you apart. He's going to find those openings. So Gustavo definitely has to take this one to the ground and utilize that submission that he works so beautifully every time.
And actually, when you see, Gustavo kind of proved my point because he's won UFC now. His first fight in the UFC was against Merab Dvalishvili. And in that fight, someone that came in with so much hype, you could see he had such an adrenaline dump and he got tired as the fight progressed in the later rounds. And that's where Dvalishvili was able to get the upper hand. And to be honest, on paper, when you look at these fighters, Dvalishvili, although a great talent, should have not have beat Gustavo, in my opinion. Yeah. Just their resume and the adrenaline, the energy that they bring and the power that they bring and the cardio and the versatility of their MMA abilities. I think Gustavo should have had the upper hand, but the adrenaline dump once again caught him. He came back, he rebounded with a nice submission victory, But we're going to see what he does against someone like Yanez, because I think Yanez is going to be a handful, and Yanez is not going to be drawn into that, rock'em, sock'em type of brawl that Gustavo likes to see, and that can be frustrating for somebody when you try to draw someone into the game plan and they're not phased in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, and you saw that loss to Merab that Gustavo had, and that was at a catch weight of 140. So you have to question: was the training there? Was the shape there for them to meet at that weight? Obviously, not the bantamweight official weight of 135. So it's interesting if he comes into shape in this one. I think he may have the upper hand. He's a very game wrestler. He's been wrestling since high school, since I believe, if I have this right, I just need to double check here.
Yeah, no idea on my part. Not a clue.
Well, he was offered a scholarship for wrestling, Division I, and he turned it down. So if that's an indication of how good you are to be invited to a Division I university for wrestling, you have to be the upper echelon. But he actually turned it down, and he went to a college that was more local to stay with his mom. So it's interesting, these ones are tough to call because, both fighters are hungry and you never know where it can go. But I think that Gustavo definitely has the upper hand here.
You do. You go with Gustavo. See, and that's cool. I respect that for sure. I just think that for me, the excuse of the catchweight thing, I don't know. When is that valid and when is it not valid? Because some people are like, oh, when you cut to weight, you get depleted, and when you don't have to cut as much weight, you feel a lot better. So which one is it? It's so hard because it's always contradicting. People go back and forth. I just think he gassed out because he adrenaline dumped. But I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. If Adrian Yanez has shown anything, especially in his first fight in the Contender Series against that dude Brady Hung, he's just a calm and collective guy and doesn't get drawn into the hype, and he fights his own fight and sticks to his own game plan. For me, that's what makes a champion or a top contender. That doesn't get drawn into what the crowd says, doesn't get drawn into what the other opponent's done. You stick to your game plan that you guys have the blueprint for, you and your team. And I think that's what Adrian Yanez does, and I think that's what is going to get him the victory here this weekend. I think it's going to be by decision again.
Well, he's definitely not going to get drawn into the crowd because, well...
Dude, there's like 3 solid people there. What are you talking about?
They're at the Apex now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, you know what? I don't want to say it too soon, but I think the next big UFC pay-per-view is going to have a full crowd. So that's going to be pretty exciting. I think that's the one next month on the 24th, April 24th, UFC 261.
We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah. Absolutely,
on another video, because I think that's crazy. It's exciting, but it's also crazy. Yeah. I'm kind of glad I'm not there. But we'll talk about in another video, but it's pretty crazy. But what do we have next on the card?
Next on the card, we have heavyweight clash. We have Bam Bam, Tai Tuivasa versus Dontel Mays.
It's pronounced Tai Tuivasa.
Tai Tuivasa. Sorry, mate.
Tuivasa, mate. Yeah. Against Dontel Mays.
Listen, man. Tai Tuivasa, always fun to watch. He always comes in, gives you a show, unless he's laying on his back, unfortunately. And somebody who's coming in as a heavy wrestler. But he's always going to give you an exciting fight if it stays on the feet. But Dontel Mays,
it's staying on the feet, dude.
It's staying on the feet, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, he loses every time he's on the ground.
Yeah.
Every single time. Not that Tai Tuivasa is going to pull some crazy submission on him, but first of all, I think Dante, is that how you pronounce it? Mm-hmm. Dontail? Okay, DuckTales. I think so. He's one of those heavyweights that has pretty much. First of all, he carries like 30 pounds too heavy, because you can see when he throws strikes, he has a large range of strikes. He has a lot of versatile kicks, especially for a big dude, and he has a lot of good movement. But he's slow as fuck.
Yeah.
When he throws his techniques, he's slow as fuck. He looks like his techniques are so slow and so telegraphed that it almost looks like he doesn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. Telegraphed and technique, in my opinion, sometimes they don't always correlate, because telegraphed could just be the matter of speed, right? The speed that you're throwing a technique, and man, you can see them coming from a mile away.
Yeah. You saw
sucks.
You saw in that Cyril Gann fight, he's just too slow. Obviously, the speed difference was a major problem. But the dude can take a beating. Like he stuck through until I think the very end of the third round, until he got caught in that heel hook. And he was putting up a pretty good fight up until then. He landed some good body kicks, landed some heavy punches. But like you said, the speed advantage sometimes is to his detriment. And, you know, do you think that Tai Tuivasa is going to come in a bit faster than him? You do. Faster hand speed. Okay.
Way faster. I think he's going to take the center of the octagon because he loves to push the pace. Where Dontel is not a pace pusher. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like to take the center of the octagon, and he kind of waits a little bit too much, where Tai Tuivasa, these Kiwi guys are not... Sorry, he's New Zealand. I don't think he's necessarily classified as Kiwi, but he's from New Zealand, but he's not going to wait around for anybody. Sometimes that could be to their demise, but to be honest, against a guy like Dontel, no offense, this is the perfect fight to implement your game plan of being a fucking nut.
Yeah.
Push the pace, get close, and just start swinging, because that's exactly what Dontel does not want. He wants time to breathe, and you're not going to give it to him, and that's how I think Tai Tuivasa is going to take him the fuck out.
Yeah.
First round.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. You know, Tai is an interesting fighter right now. Just had just had another win against Stefan Struve, who was a very tall, lanky fighter. But coming off of 3 losses before that to Junior Dos Santos and Blagoy, tough. You know, sometimes he doesn't come in with the great game plan. I think he kind of fights like that Mark Hunt style. He's just coming in to scrap with you.
But he's just in better shape than Mark Hunt and faster.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know if he's training down at AKA for this one, but for his last fight camp, he definitely trained with the team down there, and he looked a lot better. I really liked what
lot better.
Yeah, what kind of package he brought. You know, you're never going to see him with a 6-pack or anything like that, but it's the technique that we're looking at and how he mixes it up in there.
This is the fight for me. I think it's perfectly set up just for him to grow his stock and just put on a show for the fans and get an explosive highlight reel. So Dontel better be ready. Anything can happen. It's the fight game. The worst guy, not saying he's the worst, can beat the best guy, not saying Tai Tuivasa is the best at any given time. Mm-hmm. But I do think if Tai Tuivasa goes in there and implements his game plan, takes the center of the octagon right away and pushes the pace, Dontel has no chance. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My opinion.
And by the way, fact check, Tuivasa is Australian. Sometimes.
Oh, I said New Zealand, didn't I?
Yeah, we're thinking of
whoopsies.
City kickboxing, because sometimes they roll together, right?
And I was thinking of Mark Hunt.
Yes, Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Kind of similar.
Sorry, Ty. My bad, bro.
He's gonna have to do a shoey after the fight now if he wins.
That's fucking gross.
I'm pretty sure a shoey is an Australian thing, right? Didn't you live there? Did you ever do a shoey?
Yeah. No, they tried to, and then I just literally gave him one of these looks. And I said, not today, fuckers. Pretty much didn't do it. I didn't want to do it. I just didn't feel it was appropriate to puke on everyone.
Got it.
So I refrained.
Got it. Okay. What's the next?
So you got Tai Tuivasa with a flying inverted go-go platter, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm a Tai Tuivasa fan. So I've got to pick him. I got to roll with my boy on this one.
Nice. You're saying Tuivasa. You're adding in extra vowels that aren't in his name. That's pretty cool. I'm glad.
Is it not Tuivasa?
I don't know. If you want to add extra vowels, sure, it is Tuivasa. It's Tuivasi. It's Tuivasinho, mate.
I'll say Tai Shuivasa then. Get the.
Okay, I'm proud. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm fucking proud of you. All right. Okay. Next, we have a nice lightweight clash, a very underrated fight actually, between Brad Riddle and Gregor Gillespie.
Yes, sir. Yeah, interesting.
Wow,
fight.
Could this be the fight of the night? And I think it very well will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, Gregor coming off of that painful loss against Kevin Lee. That was a nasty, nasty knockout. Had to be held back to the locker room, and usually when you see that, that's not a good sign. I think he's had a 5 to 6 month layoff since that fight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So if it's enough recovery time, I love watching Gillespie fight. You know, his cardio, his wrestling, he mixes everything up so well. But you have to always question the chin, and if it's the same after you suffer such a knockout as he just did in his last fight against Kevin Lee.
And not only that, he's in a weird position. Because not only did he get knocked out for the first time.
First time.
He lost for the first time.
Right.
He was undefeated, and he was coming off such a high off knocking out Yanez Medeiros, which just attests to his power and his striking ability, because Yanez Medeiros is a fucking badass.
Yep.
But this is one of those things where this will actually showcase right away what kind of fighter Gregor Gillespie is. Some people lose for the first time, and then they fall off the map. Or they lose for the first time in forever, and then they fall off the map. Perfect example, Tyron Woodley. Fucking annoying. One of the greatest specimens out there, and he loses once, and now he can't fucking win a round of his life dependent on it. I'm not saying Gregor Gillespie is going to follow suit.
Yeah.
But I think he does have a lot of pressure on him, not only rebounding from that loss, but rebounding from that devastating highlight reel knockout that he has to live with forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say what the mental state might be coming into this next fight. Obviously, when you have an unblemished record and then you have such a devastating loss like that, you're not sure, we've seen it with multiple fighters. We don't have to go in depth. So you definitely have to question that. But I think, he's such a tough athlete. He trains very hard. He's always ready to go. He's always ready to fight. Just watching his last few fights before that knockout, he's impressive, man. He loves those head and arm chokes. He just mixes up his submissions, his takedowns. As soon as you think you're comfortable with him on the feet, boom, there's a takedown. There's a good single leg or double leg entry. Great transitions around from the front to the back to the mount. He's just very, very slick all around. But Brad Riddle.
Brad Riddle.
What can we say about Brad Riddle?
Well, Brad Riddle is an excellent striker, and although his MMA record is not very huge, and his tenure with the UFC is against people that you haven't really heard of too much, except for his last fight. I mean, it was an impressive decision victory against Coelho, which is an undercover Brazilian fighter who's actually a very, very versatile fighter.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Brad trains out of City Kickboxing as well.
Yes, he does.
With the team down there, right?
Yes, he does. And Brad, which should tell you the keys to victory here in this fight, because Gregor Gillespie loves to stand up and bang. Mm-hmm. But Brad has over 70 kickboxing fights.
Yeah.
Professional kickboxing. He is... Just watch the tape on Brad. Mm-hmm. He is a fucking striker. He obviously, but I mean, he's a killer. He's a killer is the word I wanted to use. He has amazing leg kicks, and man, he loves to stand up and rock him, sock him too, but he has great head movement. That's the thing about these kickboxers. They don't necessarily plant their foot and just swing for the fences. He times his shots, and he's been in the game so long that's why, in my opinion, Gregor Gillespie does not want to exchange, even though a great stand-up fighter, against this guy, and he wants to do is take it to the ground. Mm-hmm. Because Brad Riddle isn't a very intricate BJJ practitioner. No. Like Gregor Gillespie, as you were saying too, substantial victories via submission. He's very versatile on the ground, and he's relentless, and his cardio is fantastic. He can go for 15 minutes, no problem, as can Brad, but standing up and going 15 minutes is a lot different than someone trying to choke you and you defending yourself for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
It's a different gas tank, right?
Yeah.
Completely. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how Brad holds up on the ground, because when you're fighting Gregor Gillespie, he's going to get you there. It doesn't matter what you do. It's definitely going to go to the ground. So we'll see how Brad can get back to his feet and engage again in the striking, if that happens, right? What's your pick going into this fight?
It's tough because I think it'll be near impossible for Gregor Gillespie to grab him if Brad can utilize his game plan and utilize those calf kicks. Try catching and taking someone down when you wear a kick to the calf. It's not the funnest thing ever. And then if you get one kick to the calf, just ask Conor McGregor, it takes the bounce out of your step completely. It takes your movement out of place completely for the whole duration of the fight.
Yep.
But I think Gregor Gillespie knows this.
Yes.
I think he's going to time this, and I think that it could also work the other way, right? Throw a leg kick, and I'm going to grab it. So hopefully he's been working on this. I'm sure he has. He's a vet. I say he grabs Brad Riddle when he throws one of those kicks and is able to get a hold of him and then take him to the ground and at least get some points. But I think that's where he wins, and I think Gregor Gillespie is winning on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's an opportunity for Brad to get himself into the rankings, because with a win over Gregor, you're shot up into the top 15, right?
Yep.
Gregor's right on the cusp there, but a great opportunity for Gregor to come back out and prove himself that he's still a shark in this division, and that knockout was just a fluke, right?
Yep.
So.
Yep.
1 second. Technical difficulties.
You're a fucking technical difficulty. Are we done with the fight? Who'd you pick?
I picked Mr. Gregor Gillespie. Sorry, man. The camera overheated.
So did it turn off?
Yep,
Oh, it did turn off.
it did.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, so keep going. That's okay. Just going to open up the battery here.
Andrew's going to be back in one moment, folks, so stay tuned. And we're back. Wait, is mine overheating?
That's true.
Okay, let's talk about the main fight here.
Let's do it. Okay.
Which I'm fucking stoked about it.
Yeah, your friend Kevin Holland versus Derek Brunson. This is a fun fight, man. I'm excited to see this fight this weekend.
I hope it's fun.
Oh, you don't think? Do you have a feeling that this is not going to be an exciting fight?
I think it'll be exciting, but fun. I guess when I hear fun, I'm thinking both fighters. I think it'll be kind of one-sided, to be honest.
Okay.
Derek Brunson, first of all, when we look at it, his last fight was August 2019. Since then, Kevin Holland has fought 6 times.
Yeah.
5 times just in 2020, beating some of the division's best and previous world champions.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, look what the fuck he did to Jacare Souza.
Oh my God.
I don't think anyone has ever knocked out another fighter. There is one in my head. It's happened in The Ultimate Fighter. That's knocked out someone while they're in their guard. And Jacare, being one of the best grapplers that the world has supposed to ever seen, was a victim to Kevin Holland knocking him the fuck out from his back.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, while I was watching that fight, you could obviously hear the chatter with no crowd, and he's talking to Jacare the whole time. He's just lying down there and he's hitting him with good elbows, and then he says something and he's like, "That's a good one, Jacare." And Jacare replied to him,
"I dreamed of this."
Yeah, I dreamed of this.
He goes, "I dreamed of this moment. I dreamed of this last night." Yeah.
Yeah, and then boom, knocks him out.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just saying I've never seen that happen before, and it was a little bit of a shocker. Go ahead.
Well, and the thing about Kevin Holland is people see him as this huge knockout artist, and he is. But people don't know that this man's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a second-degree Kung Fu black belt as well. Like, that's where his striking comes from. I mean, it helps with his striking stance. You can see in his stance he has that unorthodox movement, almost like that karate, almost like that Jeet Kune Do type of movement. But his BJJ, even though he doesn't use it, my friends, he has it. He's no good.
He's no good.
And if Derek Brunson wants to fight you, Kevin Holland punch him or make him tap for sure.
Well, it's
but like seriously,
as soon as Jacare took him down to the ground, you saw him throw up that triangle and he almost locked it up. That was impressive, man. Against one of the better, if not the best, BJJ practitioners in the UFC. That was impressive to see. So, you know, interesting fight. But let's talk a little bit about Derek Brunson, okay? We talked about him not being as active within the last year. To be honest with you, and this is just personally my feeling, is yes, he switched camps. He's gone over to, I believe he's training down with Sanford MMA now, with Michael Chandler,
which is
Kamaru
huge.
Usman, all of those guys down there, which is great experience, but it just feels like he's not as explosive as he once was. Maybe he's picking his shots a little bit better, and that's what we saw in the last fight. But you know, all of his knockouts all of his wins by knockouts are from 2017 and earlier, right? Except for the TKO in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be explosive enough or versatile enough to take on someone that's so unorthodox like Kevin Holland. He's never fought someone like Kevin Holland. In fact, in his defense, no one's ever fought anybody like Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland has what it takes to be a champion and one of the most dynamic, exciting champions of all time. I'm not saying he's going to be, but I just think he has that charisma and he has those abilities to do so.
Yeah.
It's just going to be tough because when Derek Brunson goes in for a shoot, especially a kung fu practitioner, he likes striking on his way back. Not a lot of fighters can do that when they're on their way back and they can throw a strike, a counter. People that were amazing at that were people like Chuck Liddell and Anderson Silva, where they could run back and hit you with the technique. It is not an easy thing to do, and Kevin Holland can do that to a T. So what's Derek Brunson going to do? Are you going to take him to the ground, a BJJ black belt who almost submitted Jacare Souza, or at least put him into deep waters? Or are you going to go in for a shot? We're going to get caught with a knee, or maybe like an uppercut, or something crazy in there? Or are you going to stand up and strike with someone that's longer than you, and very dynamic with their strikes?
And we saw that he had a lot of problems with Israel, right?
Huge.
The longer fighter can keep you at range, can keep you at bay, and I think that's what we might see a little bit this time. Obviously, Kevin Holland not as technically sound as Israel, but who knows? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Come on now. Why?
Did you heat up again?
I heated up again. Come on. Either that or the battery's just dead.
Technical difficulties, round 2. Good job, Andrew. Is it just me right now?
It's just you. Well, I'm still here on the microphone.
Maybe I can put a picture of you up there or something. Like smiling like that.
Oh my God. Yeah, we're at 36 minutes.
Okay, yep. That's fine. We've done longer ones.
I just don't know why my camera...
You're making it so hard for me to merge all these files together. Ugh.
Oh, I know.
You're rude. Believe me, guys, he's not back. He's not back, Dana.
Keep going.
Okay,
Keep talking about
cool.
Brunson. I'll be back.
I will absolutely talk about Brunson and my boy Kevin Holland. I just think Kevin Holland, back to me because Andrew's gone for a second, I think Kevin Holland is way too dynamic for this, and I think this is his moment to shine. We've seen Derek Brunson. The one thing about Derek Brunson is him overcoming adversity is not exactly in his favor. When he's back on the cards or he's taking punishment, we saw in the Israel Adesanya fight, we could see his face change. Some fighters, when they get hit, they get hungry, they get angry, and they want to get those points back. Clay Guida rings a bell right away. When he gets hit, he fucking loves it, and he wants to get those points back, and he does whatever it takes to. But Derek Brunson, every time he loses a round or loses a few points, it's like he's telling himself, shit, I lost. I don't know what to do here. So that's very frustrating as well, especially when you're fighting someone like Kevin Holland, who is a legit thug in the octagon. Okay, we got Andrew back on, guys. Sorry, we have huge technical difficulties, so we do apologize. But Andrew, who do you got for this fight and why?
I'm going to stick with the Kevin Holland hype train. I like him. I think he's energetic. I like what he's bringing to the UFC. And I've got him by TKO.
Nice. Early, late, it's a 5-round fight.
Yeah, you know what? I think it happens within the first 2 rounds, maybe the second round. I think Brunson gasses out, really kills his gas tank, trying to get him down in the first round. Gets very frustrated, and then boom. Kevin Holland clips him with 1 in the second round.
Yep, okay. I say third. I say Kevin Holland too. I'm on that Kevin Holland hype train as well, and I believe this is just going to propel him into the top 5 of the division, the echelon of the 185, and I think he's going to catch him in the 3rd round. As I was mentioning before, I find that he gets really demotivated, Derek Brunson, when he's winning a lot of damage. So if Kevin Holland can find his reach early and land those shots and just put a lot of pressure on Derek Brunson, you're going to see Derek Brunson get very demotivated and just start depleting right away, especially the overutilization of his cardio that he sometimes does, and he has an adrenaline dump as well, trying to get that takedown. It's not going to work against someone that's bigger, longer, and a better fighter than you, I think, in Kevin Holland. So I think Kevin Holland has it in round 3, and he is going to TKO him.
Beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm round 2, but I definitely agree.
Awesome.
Kevin,
super excited about these fights. Yeah, I think so too. Super excited about these fights this weekend, guys. Sorry, we're going to wrap it up before things can here. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Leave a like and comment below. Let us know who you think is going to win this weekend. Trust me, guys, you don't want to miss this. This is where you get to see fighters evolve into superstars, but the headline has 2 superstars, at least one in my opinion, headlining it. Someone that's pay-per-view worthy, in my opinion. Like I said, being ex-champions, you don't want to miss it. Like, dislike, comment below, share it to your friends. Pass it along, and thank you. We're going to be back for more MMA news. We love y'all.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you this weekend. Peace out.
Peace.
Bang, coming for the top, got the game in the lock. Every time that I drop, know I gotta go bang. I'ma keep it hot, know that I can never stop. Keeping everything I got, I'ma make it go bang. Better than the best, I'ma tell it with my chest. I don't got no time to rest, now they know what I'm saying. Everybody know I'm coming next, I'ma leave it in a mess. If they wanna test, I'ma make it bang. Step into the mind of a young man with the plan.